if you're playing a bar, most people are at least slightly drunk. So
they don't care anyway. They're just like, as long as you get the come together part,
they're happy.
They're
and the melody, and you're good.
Yeah, you're good. You can write your own lyrics. But yeah.
We're back. It's episode number 44 of Innersleeve right here on SoundMojo. I'm Cassius Morris, Frank Pavan, and Joe Pacheco, the usual suspects. Gentlemen, what's going on?
Cold and winter. That's what's going on.
Yeah, the Canadian way.
Out of nowhere. Like we're nice and so nice and warm, and then boom, it's freezing. Yeah. That's pretty much it. Weather update. For the
Definitely. Week. I guess we're the weather channel now. We got to keep covering all our bases here.
Weather Mojo.
It's a Canadian thing. We always talk about the weather. It's weird.
Yeah. This is the truth. Now, right before we jump into this episode, because we have a lot of topics and, of course, some great guests for you, we do have a little bit of housekeeping that we wanted to take care of right off the top. Frank and Joe?
Yeah, for sure. As usual, for those who watch the channel on a regular basis, check the links down below. We've got our SoundMojo merchandise that is, out there and ready for you guys to look at. And it would be greatly appreciated if you support the channel. Next up, I know that we wanted to just do a few shout outs quickly. We wanted to thank you for the support we got last week's episode with Anthony Vincent. Yeah. That was really great for us to see. The Nashville special video that we had as well, really great to see. Upcoming this week, though, we want to touch on a few news items. We want to make sure that you guys know who today's guest is at the top of the episode, the Neoni sisters. Cassius, I know, had a conversation with them. Like, just a quick little, what was your takeaway from them, Cassius?
Very passionate, very close. It's one of those things where I think the sibling bond is so undeniable that it really translates, even over Zoom. And definitely two people that really care about one another and are very hungry and driven. And yeah, just undeniable passion for the music. So this is a great one, especially for all of our up-and-coming artists out there talking about how to grind your way through shows and all of that.
And I'll just add, this was a suggestion by one of our audience, not users, sorry. Somebody suggested we ask for artists that you want us to bring on the show, and Neoni was one of them.
Oh, wow.
100%.
There you go. So we'll get into that some more later on in the episode. You'll have their interview with Cassius, and then we'll have some more takeaways after that. But first off, we had a few news items to go through here. Of course, before we get to that, subscribe to the channel, like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff over on the audio platforms as well. Greatly appreciated. Share us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, anywhere. Support us on Instagram. Follow us on Instagram, Twitter, anywhere. You can get SoundMojo. You can just find us there at SoundMojo. Pretty straightforward.
Log back into your MySpace. We need it everywhere, guys. Seriously.
MySpace and Tumblr, if you guys are still using that. So, Cassius, a few news items. You wanted to kick off. I think we had some Young Thug news. Is that correct?
Yeah, we could jump into that. So Young Thug just came out with his pretty highly anticipated album. Now, I'm pretty sure the title originally was Pink, but he ended up changing it to Punk. So this record is called Punk. It's about 15 tracks long, and Thug is actually getting some critical acclaim for this record. For anybody who hasn't heard it, it's very much an unplugged album. There's a lot of like acoustic guitar elements and such. And I don't know what you guys thought of this record, but for me personally, I thought this was maybe one of Thug's magnum opuses because it was very well-rounded and really covered all bases in terms of his sound, for me at least.
So I listened to a few tracks. It was a very good flow, very good vibe to it. Unlike what I guess, like you were saying, Unplugged, it's much different. There's a stark difference between what Young Thug has produced before this. Some pretty big names on the album as well. Drake, Posty, right, I think. Travis Scott, right?
Mac Miller.
Mac Miller, Juice WRLD.
There's two posthumous presences on this album, features.
Nice. Yeah, so it was a different vibe. I enjoyed the few tracks that I listened to, and I honestly, I wish we could have recorded this after I spoken to my brother, because my brother is a huge Young Thug fan. Would have liked to hear his take on it, but overall refreshing, and pretty solid. I know, Cassius, you enjoyed it. Joe, did you listen to anything?
Yeah, I listened to a few things. It's not my cup of tea, that's for sure. But I'm assuming Punk in the sense that like maybe the attitude, since the album's like a 180 flip of what he normally does, maybe Punk was sort of a way of him. This is like the punk of this genre, maybe, I don't know.
Yeah, I could totally see that. It kind of fits with the theme that we're about to touch on with counterculture. And I mean, Young Thug has done stuff with acoustic guitars and such before, but I think that this was just completely delivered in a different way. And he covers his bases with the, jumping on the couch party songs as well. Like you mentioned, Frank, with the one with Drake and Travis Scott. So very happy to see Thug getting his 5-star reviews, and it's very refreshing. Now, speaking of the counterculture idea, this brings us over to actually one of our colleagues on SoundMojo, Dre the Music Man. He just put up his new video, and in this video, he's tackling Kanye West's latest record, Donda. The question Dre asked was, is Donda a counterculture album within the culture of hip hop? And Joe, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the reason was mostly because, one, it's religious themed, whereas a lot of this stuff is sort of the opposite. No cursing. It sort of goes against the grain of hip hop.
Yeah, and the fact, I think one last thing I can remember from the video was he mentions that there's also like 2 technically canceled artists that were still on the, and as you said, also like the no swearing was also removed from the featured artists stuff, or muted out, so I guess it's counterculture for what we've come to expect, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. What do you guys think?
Frank?
No clue. There's too many cultures hopping around. I have no clue what's happening.
Yeah, I don't know what's what anymore.
Maybe there's one more I can add, is the fact that it's like a 26-song album where everybody's dropping singles. That's a bit of the counter kind of vibe. I don't know. It's
I think I agree with Dre, because going into this video, I was super skeptical because I'm thinking Donda is the culture in 2021. It's that, and Drake's album is all that's been talked about basically in the rap world. But then when listening to Dre's points, he made a lot of good points. And I'm starting to think that Kanye really is uncancelable, because he just came out with a string of very bizarre actions. I think we're showing a picture here. This is him out in Italy, and he's wearing this mask. Guys, what do you make of this mask? I mean, first of all, is this even Kanye? I mean,
yeah.
How do we know?
It could be anybody, but I don't know. It's weird, like, I don't know. Like, look at the mask for the album cover. Well, it's black, right? But I mean, the mask when he had the all in red and stuff. I don't know. Plus now he changed his legal name as well, so it's like he's.
I would have got more respect for Kanye if he went out in The Mask from the Jim Carrey movie.
The Mask.
The Mask.
That would have been cool.
No, but actually there was there was Halloween vibes, right? With this mask that he was wearing, it was a bit Freddy Krueger-ish.
No, I think Mike Myers maybe.
Oh, that's Mike Myers. Sorry, my bad.
Or even Frankenstein-ish a bit. And he ended up buying a couple more. I think he had one from a popular movie. He was seen shopping in a mask store in Europe. Just very, very bizarre. But I'm starting to, the one thing as a guy who really likes Kanye that annoys me about other fans of his is that they somehow find a way to make excuses and explain away every single thing he does. In my view, yes, the guy's a bit crazy. It's okay to like that, but you don't have to rationalize everything he does and say that it's good. This is just straight up bizarre to me.
It's funny, actually. It's funny because I actually think a little differently on this. That's outside of the mask part. Like, yeah, the mask looks really weird, obviously. We could all admit to that. But isn't this like almost like normal for Kanye? Like
that's
pretty much
a very normal looking outfit, rain boots, like a very, if you remove the mask from this equation, he looks quite normal.
I think like it's just expect the unexpected with him. I think that's kind of like, his game, he does it his way, whether you, like you said, whether you want to defend, rationalize it. It's also like, I mean, the guy probably can't go anywhere without being, hounded by just the paparazzi. You can only imagine the fans. So that's probably one way of getting around it. I don't know. It's true.
Yeah, it's true.
I feel like it makes him early Halloween on,
Yeah.
Yeah, no, this is the truth.
We and probably thousands of other podcasts, if not way more, are chatting all about it, So it's like, just do something weird and you'll stay in the public eye. Not that he needs it. I don't really think, but
that's the thing. He's got news coverage on demand. He presses the button. He decides when he's on the front page. And if you think about it, the sort of hype around Drake's album has pretty much died down. Like, we're not seeing that in the news as much. Kanye in the news almost every single day since his album dropped. So
it's like you got to do extracurricular activities. It's not just about the music anymore. You got to do all kinds of stuff like to stay. I guess it's not relevant, but in the public eye, right?
Mm-hmm.
Anyways,
this is the truth.
Do yourself
So
a
very
favor,
cool.
check out that video by Dre. Maybe he'll convince a couple more people, you know?
Yeah, shout out to Dre the Music Man doing an absolutely great job. Now over to another artist. We're gonna take the jet over to the UK. The one and only Adele has decided to make a comeback. She's got an album coming out, and it looks like she's going to be premiering some music on Oprah. Is that right?
Yep, that's what I read. Like, it's interesting, eh? Like, there's all these new ways now that artists have to or are promoting their record, right? Because, like, you usually would just drop the record and you do your tour and that's it. Now it's like you're going on Oprah to drop your record. So many different things. It's refreshing, to be honest, you know? Like, and plus it's like a whole, what is it, an hour and a half long interview. So it's like, you really get to see, you know, the behind the scenes, or at least from her perspective. She released Easy On Me, like on Friday, I believe, like a couple days ago. And I just checked now, it's at 81 million views on
Wow.
YouTube, you know,
Crazy.
and like Spotify has come out saying it's, I think, the biggest one-day stream, Amazon too.
Wow. Wait, are these 81 million on YouTube or on Spotify?
81 million is on YouTube. Spotify, I'm not sure, you know, how exactly how many. But I mean, I'm not surprised because it is Adele. And like, did she ever really leave? You know, she took a break. It was 6 years. But I mean, you've always heard stuff about Adele. But, you know, I was also thinking, like, it's a scary thing, like, to be that big and leave. And then, you know, what happens when you try to come back? And she's done it 3 times. This is, I think, her 3rd time, like, where she took an extended break and came back, I guess, bigger than ever. It's crazy.
That's what I was thinking, because I mean, I'm almost shocked at the fact that she's another person. It seems like she snaps her fingers and is on demand. She decides when she's relevant and she decides when she's in the press. I mean, not everybody can take 6 years off and come back and just act like, you know, it never happened and basically be just as relevant. I mean,
You
this
know
is
what's
pretty
funny?
stunning.
And act like it's never happened. You bring me back 6 years ago. This song is on her album from 6 years. It's the exact same style.
That's it.
It's like nothing major changed. Like and this isn't to discredit Adele, because I mean it is good music. It's just like it's the exact same. This song could have been brought 7 years ago, and I wouldn't know which year it would have been dropped in. You know, it sounds exactly the same.
That's what I was gonna say. Like when she left, but it's Adele, right? It's like unique. That voice is golden. Like, I mean, from the first time I heard from the first album, right away I knew, oh, this is something else. Like her voice just stands out, man. Like, and then like with Hello, I mean, that's such a powerful song, right? So it's like, no, she's incredible, man. I'm like nothing bad to say about her.
When I was reading that article about her detailing what's going to be happening with her on Oprah, or interview with Oprah, doesn't it kind of like, isn't there a bit of been there, done that feeling? Like, haven't we already heard about Adele talking about her troubles with her personal life,
The divorce and
like,
such, yeah.
Right now it's like life after divorce, which she wasn't yet, or whatever it was. But I feel like
But it's
kind of
always a
been there, done
breakup
that.
or something. I know what you mean. It's very thematic, like compared to her last record, and it sort of sticks with the theme. But I mean, the staying power is undeniable.
Yeah. One last thing I'll say is the video "Easy on Me" was shot in Quebec, in the Eastern Townships.
Wow, look at that. That's some trivia right there for us.
That's some pretty cool stuff. Yeah.
Big shout out to Adele. It's good to have her back. And now we're going to move over to a little bit of On This Day in Music History. Frank.
Thank you for passing that over, Cassius. Yep, just a few tidbits here. Of course, all of this taken from the website On This Day in Music History. Just to give them a bit of a shout out there. 22nd of October, 2000. Of course, the late artist, the late George Michael, paid £1.45 million for the Steinway piano on which John Lennon wrote Imagine.
Wow. Holy smokes.
That's a hefty price, man. George went on to say, I know that when my fingers touch the keys of that Steinway, I will feel truly blessed, and parting with my money has never been much of a problem. Just ask my accountant. The singer outbid Robbie Williams and the Oasis brothers. Interesting. So that piano man had
so cool, man.
Had some bidders, and I feel like that's something, I don't know how to word that. Like it feels like, just reading that quote from George Michael, it feels like obviously money was of no question for this. It could have been within reason many more millions of dollars within reason to buy something that would kind of almost give him like a special power. You know?
I believe it.
so
Whether it's in his head or not, maybe the placebo could work. Maybe it could make you feel like you're better at playing. I don't know, but obviously money's not an object for him.
I just think it's like a special thing. Like it's like if I had Eddie Van Halen's first Frankenstrat, you know what I mean? Like
Exactly.
If I had that kind of money, it'd be like I couldn't care less. I'm playing something that this guy played. Or actually, not only that, not only did John Lennon there's probably many other people who played on that piano, but it's the song and the music that he wrote that's what's important, and it's important to him. So that's a really nice story.
Yeah, it's I can't think of many items. Like what would you said the Van Halen?
Yeah, let's say like Van Halen's Strat or a Jimi Hendrix or even Stevie Ray Vaughan Strat or something like
Or
that.
like John
Cassius?
Bonham, like a Led Zeppelin drum kit, or like who's passed away, something like that.
That would be your pick.
Definitely John Bonham. Yeah.
Oh, favorite drummer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Cool. So that was the on this day on 22nd of October 2000. The tidbit about George Michael. Next up, 22nd of October 2008. Also an interesting on this day tidbit here. A homeless man claimed a £2,000 reward by returning a waxwork head of ex-Beatle Sir Paul McCartney, which had been left on a train. Anthony Silva found the item, so that's the name of the man, found the item in a bin at Reading Station after auctioneer Joby Carter left it under a seat at Maidenhead Station. The homeless man thought it was a Halloween mask and he had been using it as a pillow before realizing what it was. The wax model sold the following week for £5,500 at an auction.
What?
That's
That is
funny.
so bizarre. So was
Why
this
would-
supposedly an official thing, or
I
like
don't
this
know,
was a
but-
Beatles merchandise, or?
Yeah, so I don't know who made the waxwork head of Paul McCartney or where that came from.
But why would you
Interesting,
sleep with it
though.
as a pillow? It's a little
Well,
weird,
desperate times, man. Desperate times call for desperate measures. But
Wow.
what's interesting here is that he claimed a £2,000 reward. So he got gypped by
Yeah.
£3,500 is what I'm seeing here.
They upsold it.
Right. Yeah. So, anyways,
Wow.
Oh, I
quite a find.
Let me correct myself. It's true. I just realized it's a homeless man. So okay, I get it. It makes sense that you use it as a pillow. My
You
bad.
thought it was a guy
my
at his
bad.
house using it?
Yeah, I'm
probably
just thinking, like, if you
devalued
found
it
it on the
by quite a
train
bit.
and then like
Yeah.
go home and sleep with Paul McCartney is like a little weird. But
It's
okay,
half
homeless
melted
man.
by the time it's at the auction, like just face mark in it.
Yes, Exactly.
it's like half of the face is Paul McCartney, half the face is the homeless man.
Yeah, it's
it.
imprinted.
Yeah. So those were the on this days for this episode. I felt like those were quite unique. We'll hop on to a bit of music trivia here. Okay, boys, you ready for this?
Sure. Yep.
Okay.
I hope I'm ready. I'm sweating.
Past few weeks, I know I've kind of been asking the questions.
Yep.
We'll continue with that trend for this episode. This one, though, I felt like going a bit different. There's only one question that gives you options, and the rest are gonna kind of test your musical knowledge.
Metal.
Yeah,
Okay.
your musical, like remembering dates or names or eras. Okay.
Oh boy.
So, whose music catalog did Michael Jackson purchase the rights to in 1985?
Oh my God. You're playing
Was
right
it
up my
Diana
alley.
Ross?
Sorry.
Was it Diana Ross, the Beatles, Miles Davis, or the Rolling Stones? So
That's
I'll
an
repeat.
easy one.
The Beatles.
Whose music? Okay.
The
We're just going
Beatles.
straight for it.
Yeah, that's an easy one.
All right,
Yes.
the Beatles. There you go. Trivia question number 2. What decade is the hit single Love Shack by the B-52s from?
1980s.
Cassius?
What Joe said. No. I honestly do not know.
It's the 1980s, Joe, so you're on.
Yeah. I had a bit of a cheated advantage. I was around. I was alive when it was
Yeah.
on.
Right.
I just remember
Okay, fair
Black.
enough.
That's all I remember.
Hey, what matters is you got it right, and that's all that matters. So, trivia question number 3. Who is the lead singer? This one might be a softball again. Who is the lead singer of Smash Mouth?
Ooh. I don't know that guy's name.
He's
know
a rock
Face?
star, right? No. I don't know his name. The guy from Shrek. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. The guy from Shrek.
That is his
The
name.
guy from Shrek. Stephen Harwell
Okay,
Stephen
yeah.
Harwell.
is his name. Yeah.
You got us there.
Okay,
We all
so
know
that
that
one was a bit-
voice. We all know that
Yeah.
voice and that thing, but the name.
So this one's interesting. Okay, so which song put Cardi B on the map?
Cassius, you should know this.
I know it.
I don't.
Do you have
Joe, no,
options,
not
or
even
do
a
we
guess?
have to just guess?
I know Cardi B.
I'm-
I know of her. I know about her. I know what she looks like. I know her sound. I know her voice. But it's like all the songs she's on? No idea.
But that one defining song in the
The
summer of
answer
2017.
is Bodak Yellow.
Correct. I remember that one, man. I was on a resort with friends in the Dominican. So this song dropped in June of 2017. I went there in August, and we were just like, it was playing every 10 minutes. It was the song of that summer. It was crazy.
I definitely find in other countries, like in the States, especially in Florida, like they play her nonstop, dude. Like they play her a lot in Canada, but yeah, international appeal is huge.
Yeah. Next up, now this one might also be a softball, depending on, I mean, I think Joe's going to know this, obviously. Which member of Def Leppard died in 1991?
Yeah, my favorite.
Did that one hurt your heart?
I love Steve Clark.
Okay, yeah. See, I didn't know the answer to that
I
one,
love
to be
Steve
honest.
Clark. He's my favorite guy in that band. Yeah.
So did it hit you, that one?
I was what, 15 or something, 16 at the time. Yeah, it hit me because I was a big fan of the band, and like it came out of nowhere, kind of thing. I remember it was like, see, this is my memory. It's weird. I remember I heard it on a Sunday morning. See, I still remember it. So yeah, it was pre-internet days, but like shocking nonetheless. He was so cool, man. He's like, he used to play with his guitar all the way down by his knees. Like he had the vibe. His songwriting was really cool. Even his guitar, let's say melodies or licks that he would play weren't just for shredding. It was literally like melodic. Big influence on me.
All right.
Rest in peace.
So you're right. Steve Clark, 1991. Last one. This one might be a harder one. Who had the 1987 UK #1 hit, Star Trekkin'?
Ooh.
Star Trekkin'.
No options.
No idea,
man.
man. Is there
I don't even think the options would help me at this point.
Is there
okay, well, the band name starts with the something. And it's just one other word.
Is it The Cure?
No, but it's a 4-letter word.
Oh, shit. The Cult.
No.
Damn it. Something else with a C.
You're better than me, man. I am totally
First
clueless.
letter F.
The Fix.
4 letters.
Yeah, but
Two X's. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that. So there you go.
Fix has
Anyways,
2 X's.
the Firm.
The Firm.
I was
okay,
close.
The Firm. You were close, Joe.
I was off by 2 letters.
Right, exactly.
Half a point.
Oh, shit. So that's all I got
Pretty
for you
good.
boys.
Like
Yeah.
that one.
Awesome, man. Yeah, the nice healthy mix. At least I got one right. Jeez. So
was
now
harder,
we're going to
but-
move into Neoni, the interview. So big shout out to Neoni for coming on, the two sisters. Like I said off the top, and we're going to have more takeaways at the end, bubbly, happy, passionate, and really interesting to hear two sisters talk about like how their relationship has evolved through the years, especially through making music. So no more spoilers. We're going to let you guys get into it, and we'll catch up with you guys right after.
You and me.
Caitlin and Sydney, thank you so much for joining me. Where are you guys calling from? Are you guys both out in Nashville right now?
We are. We moved
Cool.
to Nashville 3 years ago, and it's great.
And we're currently enjoying some of the best time of the year in Nashville.
Yes.
Right as you hit fall, it gets magic.
It's lovely.
Okay. How cold does it get down in Nashville?
It gets pretty cold
In the
but
winter.
We started the band in Denver, so
Right.
not Denver cold at all.
It's not
But-
Denver cold,
but
but it does get
pretty
cold, and we get snow sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
The snow here is a
like
little
a
evil,
dusting of snow,
but
Like,
it's an evil dusting of
Yeah.
snow. Like there's never like
it's
a
more like a dusting of ice. If I'm being real honest with you.
It's not the Disney snow. It's the real deal.
yeah, it's the real
It's
deal.
the real deal.
The real deal. You can't drive to Taco Bell kind of snow.
Yeah, like sliding around the roads type of snow. It's not fun.
Brutal. So you mentioned getting started in Denver. Now, I know that you actually got started with busking. Is that correct?
Yes, we played on street corners with our guitar cases open.
We used to play it on Pearl Street in Boulder, right on Main Street in Golden, Colorado. Sydney actually did it first.
Yeah, I remember I busked for the first time.
And I was like, no way, I'm not
Caitlin-
doing it. I'm freaking out.
She wouldn't come with me. She was like, no, I can't do it. I'm too afraid. And so I went out there. I was 10 years old and I had a horrible guitar that sounded terrible, especially since I didn't know how to play it very well. That factored in as well. But yeah, I went out there and I made like $10 and
And then I was jealous.
then Caitlin came back and was like, yo, you made how much? And I was like, dude, I made like $10 in an hour. And she was like, well, I want to do it.
Well, I'm down to do that.
So then our
Now it sounds
story-
appealing.
Yeah.
Now this sounds fun.
Now that there's a few bucks involved, she's all in. So yeah, it taught us how to sing loud. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Interesting. Is that a big scene in Colorado, or at least where you guys were at, or was it kind of one of those things that you were one of the outliers doing it and being super creative with that?
I mean, I don't think there were that many people who did it.
A lot of people, well, I think the issue was when we started, she was like 10 and I was like 13, and we couldn't get into bars or clubs.
Yeah.
So
Right.
we couldn't find a lot of stages to play.
And so a lot of the other artists, were playing bars and clubs because they were old enough to get in. So we were one of a few, I think, who played. I mean, Pearl Street has a ton of buskers.
Pearl Street kind of has like a reputation for having a lot of really cool busking.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think as far as like
at one
bar
point,
scene,
do you remember that?
we were one of the only ones.
We were at busking one afternoon, and there was a bar down the road that they had a band coming in. So the band walked by us, and they were like, "Hey, you guys are pretty cool." We were like, "Well, thanks. That's pretty cool that you think that we're talented." And so like, they're like, "You want to come in and play?" I'm like, "Nah, dude, they won't let us in."
Yeah. Long story short, they tried to get us in to play a song with them, but the bar was like, "No, you're a child." And so we kind of had to build our own stages because no one else was really letting us play theirs.
No, that makes a lot of sense. So you guys were probably getting a lot of attention from people because you see two young kids like going out there and doing it. That must be sort of striking for folks.
Yeah, I mean, we got some attention for that.
Yeah,
and I think being a young girl and having two young girls harmonizing was
it
always
was
kind of
great.
like a novelty thing.
And then sometimes we would bring the dog. We had like a big 140-pound Great Pyrenees. So when you brought the dog,
yeah,
exactly.
Literally, we never got more attention than
when we had the dog.
We brought our dog Moses, and I mean, he loved it. He's a very social little creature. Wow. But yeah, he loved it. So
yeah, it definitely had that feel of like, people just wanted to come and see what, two preteen kids playing music on the street.
And honestly, we were just as interested to see what was going to happen.
Oh yeah.
We never really knew what was going to happen.
It was a surprise every time.
So you must have had a really supportive family and very supportive parents all around that to be encouraging this at such a young age.
Yeah, I think we got really lucky because my mom always loved music. It was always something she was super passionate about. And my dad was a metalhead. So he loved music as well. But I mean, neither of them really play music. My mom can sing. But when we told them, like, hey, we play guitar, but like we really want to do music. My mom was immediately like, oh, that's amazing. Let's do it. And my dad, he took us a little bit more of a second because he had dreams of us being pharmacists and accountants. And
but
so
like
it took him like a few weeks to like let go of that dream. But like for us,
from his life, my granddad built a 9-foot skate ramp in his backyard when he was a kid because he loved skating. And so he was like, well, my dad like absolutely supported what I was loving to do. And he was like, and I see a passion for what you do and you guys work really hard at it. So both of our parents have been incredibly supportive.
We're super lucky.
From like my dad films all of our videos and like takes all of our photos. My mom helps. Yeah, dude, he's amazing. And my mom helps a lot with like, helping us like style ourselves. And she's like, no, you can't just wear sweatpants every day.
And every year we'll get an email from our granddad because he likes to hand out our business cards. So he'll ask us, hey, can you send me business cards so that I can hand them out to people. And that's awesome.
Those are the best grandparents that are telling everybody within earshot how great their grandkids are.
It's amazing. And especially since, our music's a little dark. It's got like some dark undertones. And so, he's just, he's
absolutely
an old man
supportive.
Handing out these cards for some rock music, rock alt. And I'm like, that's just so, awesome.
The craziest thing about him too is we'll do like live streams on Instagram and stuff. And all of a sudden I see my granddad on the stream and I'm like, and I cannot believe my granddad's sitting here watching a live stream.
I hope he's watching this. That's legendary.
Oh yeah, he's gonna totally check this out.
He is the bomb.
Shout out granddad. That's the best. So what was it like for you both when you started getting into bars and clubs when you got a bit older? I'm curious about the transition from sort of finding different stages to that scene.
Yeah, I think it was really kind of a crazy adventure. In Denver, there's a lot of like 3-hour sets and gigs to kind of like, fill a restaurant and a club like that. So we had to learn tons of songs.
Yeah, we had to find the bars and clubs, number one, that would eventually let us in, with my mom there to to make sure that those X's stayed firmly on my hands. But yeah, once we started playing that scene, we were used to playing live, but we had to learn all sorts of things like
how to work a stage,
and like the setups of sound systems and stuff like that. And yeah, we had to learn 3 hours of music.
That's a crazy amount of time.
Yeah, it was a crazy amount of time, especially since we were probably 14. You were probably 14 or 15.
And at that point, I think it was a 54 set cover show.
There's 54 songs.
It was nuts. There's still a couple songs that I think we never actually got 100% right.
No, we did a Beatles cover, and I love the Beatles, but there's a song. What was it? I can't remember the name of it. It's literally something. I can't remember the name.
I'm totally blanking on the name of the song.
Come Together.
Come Together.
Okay, perfect.
And so the lyrics in that are kind of very free flowing. If you really listen,
we never got them right.
We never ever got them right. Like all the verses would just get confused, and yeah, we
always got the general idea of it, but never quite right. But if you're playing a bar, most people are at least slightly drunk, so they don't
care anyway. They're just like, as long as you get the come together part,
they're happy.
They're
and the melody, and you're good.
Yeah, you're good. You can write your own lyrics. But yeah, there was a few songs, and I always remember right around it, because we did it in like 3 sets. So you do like 3 50-minute sets with like a 10-minute break. That was how our gigs were set up mostly. And I remember the third 50-minute set, there would always be like nobody there, and like the bar owner had already left, like he was asking you to lock up, and so you would just it was like this awesome moment. It was always my favorite set. Even though you were exhausted by that time, you could kind of do whatever you wanted and just have a lot of fun with it. So I remember one time there was like one person left in the bar that we were playing, and they were like, "Do you know any Bob Dylan?" And like earlier that day, I had like learned a Bob Dylan song. And so like I tried to play it, and messed up like half of it, but it was just such a memorable moment. I mean, I think that's one of my favorite things about live, just in general, is there's just those magic moments that just are so spontaneous
that you can't expect, and they just kind of like show up.
Yeah, it's true. And I mean, that must have conditioned you both so much for the road and just for shows in general, because that's a massive amount of time to be doing each night. I mean, it must have been, was it exhausting, or was it so much fun that it didn't really feel exhausting?
I mean, I think at times it was both, but we were so young, we had all that energy. And I think we had so much fun playing together. It was always a blast, but
I think it depended on the set. Like some sets you come out of and you're just like hyped.
Yeah, you're
and
like,
there's some sets where you're like, okay, I think that was really fun, but like I'm tired and everybody talked the whole set, and now I'm like, really drained. But I think it definitely just kind of depended on the set. But I think no matter what, we always had fun with it.
Yeah, I think the biggest thing for us is being a duo, especially with 2 vocalists. You kind of have to learn how to get really, really tight.
Yeah.
And we were not at the beginning, and it was bad. But you got to start somewhere, and so I think those sets really just helped us get a lot tighter as a duo. So even in the studio, that helps out, because I can match her rhythm, I can match her runs, I can match what she does, because I know it so well.
We kind of know what the other one's instinctually gonna do. Yeah. Which only you only learn by doing something over and over and over and over.
Yeah,
again.
and by being sisters, we already had like a little bit of that, but then we were also like polar opposite sisters. So the rest
it took a little figuring out.
Yeah. So I definitely think it's helped us.
Oh yeah.
That makes sense. Do you feel like you guys both got along better as kids or now? Because I've sort of read that you maybe didn't get along as good when you were younger, and that you sort of had to grow into that relationship.
Yeah, we get along so much better now. So much better.
We're both very like stubborn people with strong opinions,
strong ideas.
I always tried to compete with her, but she's 3 years older than me, so I would be like 6. And all of her and her friends would be like 9. And I would be like, I'm going to beat you at sports. I'm going to beat you at math equations, like whatever I could.
That's tough.
I always lost because 6. I mean,
it's hard to compete when you have like a 3-year advantage.
Yeah.
But what sucks now is that I am significantly shorter than her.
Yeah.
So all of that advantage is gone.
Yeah, so I mean,
out the window.
What you gonna do? But yeah, I would say we definitely get along better now. I would say at the beginning of us playing music, it was World War III.
Oh my god!
Because we started playing music separately
because we were solo artists.
Yeah, we did not want to work with one another.
Interesting.
Yeah, and one day our mom was like, she always wanted us to play together. She loved like the Indigo Girls and stuff like that. So she really wanted that harmony.
Yeah.
She was like, you have to do it. So one year for Christmas, she was like, all I want for Christmas is you two to figure out how to do a song together. And Caitlin and I were like, no,
why not? Why don't I just get you a candle?
Yeah, I didn't really, have that much money for a candle that year.
No.
So Caitlin and I looked at each other and we're like, it's a homemade card
or this.
We play a song together. And so we figured out how to play a song. It was by Innersleeve.
Street Corner
Preacher. And we did that song. And then we kind of...
Neither of us would admit that we had fun doing it. But like subconsciously we're like, well, we could always do another song.
We kind of fell in love with working with each other. Reluctantly we fell in love with working with each other. And after that we built, I remember the first set we had to build was a 10 song set. My dad was like, look, if you want to go play and busk, and if you want to go maybe play a festival, like a small festival, you need a 10 song set. And Caitlin and I were like,
10
what do you mean? How do I memorize
How do I know 10 songs?
10 songs? Like, what am I going to do? And after we did that, we started playing together a lot, just busking and some small festivals.
And now, like, you're like my best friend.
Yeah.
Which is crazy because, like,
we still fight. Like, that's why our bio is we argue and write
because
songs.
that has not gone away.
Because being siblings, like, especially writing together, you can be so brutally honest with that person because you know them so well. They're like literally a part of you, but
sometimes you're a little bit more brutal than honest.
Brutal honesty can be a little bit more brutal than honest. And there's things that you wouldn't say to other people, like, hey, that's a stupid idea, just because you're like, you're my sibling. And it goes back and forth. And most of the times, because we're so close, it's like, oh, whatever. Like,
right.
Whatever. But
occasionally
it just turns into World War III.
And it's a giant fight. But then the good thing, again, with being siblings is after our fight, like 30 minutes later, I'm like, yeah, well, do you want to go get like Taco Bell?
We never our fights never last because we always want to. I'm like, hey, you want to play Legend of Zelda? Like,
I'm like, yeah, I do.
That's the thing about siblings.
Yes.
It's
the weird thing about siblings where like you can fight like nobody's business, but it never really lasts.
No, because then you're like, well,
like, I want to go do something. And
do you want to watch Stranger Things?
Yeah, I'm bored.
So you find it easier.
Yeah,
it's so much easier now
to get along.
I think we're both more mature. I wouldn't say we're mature, but we're more mature than we used to be.
Of more maturity, and I think that helps with it.
That helps.
I'm more mature until I'm not.
I'm slightly more rational than I used to be.
I don't know about that.
Oh,
now we're gonna start.
We're gonna start World War IV here now.
Yes,
exactly.
Yes,
and you're gonna have to witness it. It's scary.
Yeah, it's not a fun time.
So how long did it take you both to go from the covers that you guys were doing to doing original stuff? And what was the first project that you ended up releasing?
So we always knew we wanted to be original artists.
Yeah.
We
honestly
loved
before
writing.
We started doing covers, we were, writing like songs that the world should never hear because they were like, I was like, what, like 10, 11
Yeah, they're not.
That's how everyone starts though.
Yeah, I remember I wrote and Caitlin wrote our first songs around the same time. It was like 4 months after we started playing guitar. I only knew like 4 chords.
But we're like, that is enough.
It was like, I only know it's 4 chords, but I'm gonna write to them because I think we both just really had a love for it.
And then we kind of phased into doing the covers so we could learn to perform and how to work together.
We did put out a project when we were really young. It was original music, terrible original music, but it was original music called Skyline.
Yes.
I mean, it's so.
I think that album came out when I was like 15.
Yeah, it was like 8 songs. Terrible. Oh yeah, I was probably 12 years old.
But honestly, they still have. They're not on Spotify or anything anymore. But like, they're still like embedded in my heart.
they're a step in the journey.
Sure.
So then we kind of dove into doing more covers, just because we wanted to
grow our brand,
and find our place in the online space as well. And as soon as we kind of got the chance to do more original music, we took it because it's what we always wanted to do.
I actually remember the conversation. We were like in our kitchen. They were like, okay, Mom and Dad, they'd been supporting us and really helping us figure it out. And they were like, we are having some success with the covers we're doing online.
And I love that, and that's great.
But we really want to make original music. And my dad was like, I mean, you are finding success in covers, so you sure you want to like phase out of that? And I was like, Yeah.
Caitlin and I were like, we had this blind faith in.
We were like, yeah, we can do it.
We were like, yeah, let's do it.
Why not?
Yeah, why not? And yeah, at that point, it was like.
And then what was it, like
for it.
2018? We pretty much phased into just doing original music.
We
With a
changed-
cover every once in a while.
Yeah, I mean, we still love
doing covers.
I mean, I think every artist loves a great cover song every once in a while. And
Yeah.
I mean, we definitely have a few of those that are super close to our heart. But yeah, I think
pretty much at that point, we just phased into writing and releasing original music. And I'm just so in love with the whole process of
it's
writing
so
and
awesome.
releasing songs.
It's so cool
yeah.
to see someone connect with like the lyrics that you write.
Yeah.
Because it's something that
Mhm.
obviously you're feeling and you're processing. And then when like on a video, someone will say like, oh my God, this line in Wonderland, it's just so
Really
crazy
resonates.
awesome. It really resonates.
No, like,
with me.
oh, that resonated with me too.
So it's
Yeah.
just, there's no better feeling in the world than that. So.
Yeah.
That must be a wild experience. And I mean, you know, you guys get so much fan interaction. You know, it seems like they really feel close to you both in an interesting way. And it seems like you also do a lot of things to keep them engaged. But that must also take a ton of effort to be constantly sort of going in. I mean, do you put much thought about your or into your social media promotion, or does it sort of just come naturally?
I think we do put a lot of thought into it when it comes to like how we promote a song and how we connect with our fans and
I
how we
think-
present songs.
Yeah, for us, it's always been important to come across and be really authentic. I think that's the best way to deal with people and to interact with people is just don't try to fake it. Don't try to hide if you're messing up on something. Just be kind of real and authentic with people. And yeah, we absolutely love interacting with people who enjoy.
I mean, they're the reason why we have this opportunity to create music for a living. And so like anytime we can share something with them or, you know, sing an acoustic version for them or just be around and chat with them, we always want to take the opportunity.
Like it's so cool.
So I think it's definitely a blend of kind of like whatever we feel like is going to be a good next step and whatever we're planning as well. So I think it's a solid blend of just kind of like going with your gut and trying to come up with a strong strategy.
Yeah.
Interesting. How about your collaboration with the Kala music brand? I'm curious about that.
Oh, they're so awesome.
Amazing, yeah.
So Kala, we started playing their U basses. We randomly found a U bass, which is really interesting because it wasn't very popular when we found it back then.
And what is that, by the way, for people who don't know?
So it's a blend between a ukulele and a bass. So it's like
it's like ukulele size,
yes,
but it's got these like big
really thick
rubber
strings, and it sounds a lot like a stand-up. It's like it's amazing. We have a fretless model from them.
Oh, it's beautiful.
Oh, it's so good. It's like the most fun thing to play ever. So yeah, we randomly found a U bass, our first U bass, in a music store one time, and we were just chatting with the dude who ran it, and he was like, dude, these are awesome, you have to plug it in and try it.
So we did like a couple cover videos on YouTube with the U-bass in it.
I mean, we're talking about early on, they had reached out to us.
Yeah.
And we're like, hey, we really like what you're doing, and you know, we want to part with you and help you get what instruments you need to keep creating. And that was just so awesome. I mean, I think it was on your birthday.
It was on my 18th birthday.
It was on like Caitlin's 18th birthday that they were like, yo, we respect what you're doing and we think it's cool. And
I was like, best birthday ever.
Yeah, it was
seriously.
It was so cool. And then they sent us a few instruments of theirs, and their instruments are just beautiful. So we're super honored to be working with them.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And I mean, it seems like you put a lot of focus into finding new sounds. That's one of the things I appreciate. And it sounds like it's been a common theme since the beginning. You don't want to just do the same thing over and over. And I'm wondering about that. Like, does that make the process harder? Does that make the process easier because you're open to more? How does that work?
I think it makes the process easier.
Yeah, I think we're never too focused on like staying strictly to a sound. As long as it's something we enjoy and we enjoy creating. If I enjoy it, then if someone with a similar music taste to me, maybe they could enjoy it, and maybe they can enjoy both of those songs.
Also, it's a great way to just kind of like shake your brain up and kind of like get out of like any kind of writer's block and just be like, you know what, today I'm writing a Western song.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going to do.
I think it's really easy to get caught in ruts. And I've definitely been caught in like writing ruts before where you're like, I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again. And a lot of times that just stems from overthinking.
Oh, yeah.
It's a lot of times it's all in your head. But I think shaking it up and coming up with new sounds is always a way to kind of like kickstart that creative engine. And we also grew up listening to various amounts of music and different genres.
And we've just
types.
stolen little like pieces of what we like from all these different like genres and feelings. And so it kind of creates this big genre stew. If that makes any sense.
It does, absolutely. You know, I know you both really like Imagine Dragons also. Talk to me about that. What is it about Imagine Dragons that really stands out to you as artists?
I think it honestly is Night Visions. They're like,
oh my God,
OG album came out right when we started like playing music as a band together for the first time. And so we loved that album. And one of my favorite albums of all time is Smoke and Mirrors, which is
they've got
the
this
album
like,
after that.
Huge energy. Like every song hits you like this huge wave of emotion, and the instrumental is super intense. And then Dan Reynolds' voice is literally magic.
The writing is just amazing and so creative.
And the way they still maintain like kind of like this pop-centered hookiness and catchiness while still feeling like a big rock band is just like really inspirational for us. And we definitely want to always chase after what they've done to combine rock and pop.
Yeah, I just think they're such a legendary band. Their stage performance is sick. Yeah, so they've been a huge inspiration for us.
Interesting. You know, speaking of big sounds and such, Wars in a Wonderland, that's the last project. Talking about sort of, I guess, the coming of age that a person experiences at a certain point in their life. I'm curious to maybe hear more about that.
Yes. So I'm so glad that you brought this up because this is a topic I could speak hours on. Hours.
Good.
When we started writing the album, I would say end of last year, beginning of this year. And when we started writing it, we didn't really have a direction. We were kind of writing with one of our favorite producers, David Spencer. And we just started writing some music and getting a vibe. And then we wrote Wonderland, which is the title track of the album. And I think the vision for what we wanted to do as a larger project really came into vision. We'd never really done like an album, an EP like this, where I really wanted it to feel different each song, but somehow connected.
We wanted to tell a larger story. We kind of wanted to build a world with it.
Yeah. And so with the idea behind Wars in a Wonderland is kind of like the things in society that bother us, or what things that we don't feel like fit what we want to do with our lives. And then like, what are we going to do to change it? What are we going to do to overcome it? And Wonderland is it's a part of that as well, because the world isn't always what we think it is when we're young and so I think Wonderland specifically is about like reaching this moment where you're like, oh, not everything is as I thought it would be. And that, I think that's a big overarching theme for the album.
Yeah. And I think another one of the big kind of themes that I see on it is, you know, we're living in the 21st century. This like is kind of the most connected, the most, the farthest advanced we've ever been is kind of like humanity. And yet there's still things that leave us feeling empty and keep us feeling separated. And we really wanted to go in that and be like, oh, what are the things we're still fighting in a world that is in so many ways so good? But what are the things that still dig at us? What are the things that still keep us, feeling empty and drained? And I think you hear a lot of that in RIP when we kind of talk about the value you put in items that you think are going to make you feel better.
Yeah, or to prove yourself to other people by material things. That was one of the themes in that one. And with Machine, it's just like there's a lot of expectations on like how you're supposed to live your life, or like there's an order to it, or a certain way that's right. And I think Machine is really just about breaking down that concept, because I mean, everyone lives differently. Everyone's path is meant to be different. So I would say the general overarching thing is like things that we don't understand or that doesn't make sense really in our world, and targeting those and opening up that concept. Yeah.
And the first half is really kind of like, talking about like the actual struggle and actual things that we're like, oh, this is what I'm going to call out. This is what I'm going to say that's going to be bothering us. And then the second half kind of talks about like what you're going to do about it. And I feel like Loser is kind of the bridge of like, oh, you think that like I'm a mess. You think I'm a loser because I don't do things the way you do. But let me tell you something. And then you go into the back half of the EP where you're kind of like,
which is more like action oriented. The first half is more like contemplative and like introspective. Yeah, it's like a commentary. And then the second half is like action oriented. And like, what are we going to do to make things better? What are we going to do to change it?
Yeah.
Taking your newfound awareness and then implementing it in the second half.
Exactly. Yeah. I put way too much thought into song order too. Everything
except for the title came to you in like a moment.
The title for the album Wars in a Wonderland came in the Wonderland session.
Yeah.
It was at the
Wow.
end, wrapping up a song, we're finishing the vocals, and I texted Caitlin and I was like, hey, what do you think about Wars in a Wonderland
As
for a
the
title?
title.
And she was like, that's cool.
I was like, that's G. Like, there's this whole like visual idea now, and
Yeah.
And then we hopped in the car leaving that session, and I was like, bro, I think that's it. We should send that out.
and then
as a
we
label.
we emailed Cloud Kid and we're like,
Uh-huh.
hey, what do you guys think about Wars in a
I
Wonderland?
was so nervous. I was like, I hope they're gonna like it. I hope they're gonna like it, because I'd already, of course,
planned the whole thing out.
built the whole story
Right.
in my head. And they
They
liked
loved
it,
it.
and we started working on art, and the art really reflected, the story, and we had so much fun.
This whole EP project
It was such a fun, creative process. It was a blast.
yeah.
That's really cool, and you can tell that you're having fun, just talking about it and listening to the music, you can tell. You mentioned David Spencer. I'm curious from your perspective as an artist. I always love to ask this to artists. What makes a great producer for you? And is it something that can be transferred from person to person, or is it an individual case with each producer that makes them each great?
I would say the biggest thing to look for in a producer, and really anyone you're working with on the artistic side, is someone that respects your individual vision
Yeah.
for what you want to do and can add on to it. But if you're working with someone who may be amazing and just like ridiculously talented, but if they don't get your vision,
It's not
it's not going to work out. And I mean, with someone like David, not only does he get our vision and respect where we want it to go, but like he's helped build it, and he constantly is adding to it. So I think that is my biggest thing with
It's also
amazing
about how
producers.
comfortable you feel in a session. Like
Yeah.
David,
Right.
working with David is like the most comfortable environment. Like you just feel, right at home, and you feel like you can express, these, because, writing a song is basically like, hey, let me tell you all the things that hurt me about life.
Yes,
And
it's like,
express all of my deepest,
here's
darkest
my
secrets.
diary of everything I've ever felt. So like, let's write a song about it.
Feeling a good chemistry and feeling comfortable with somebody is a huge part of that. And David just creates this very comfortable space where you're able to just kind of be who you are and express it. And he's able to capture it sonically, like when it comes to instrumentation. We can be like, oh, I want to write a song called Loser. And he's like, okay, I know what that sounds like.
Absolutely.
Wow.
And it's really cool. It's just kind of about how 2 people or 3 people sit in a room together.
Yeah, I mean, and it's always, with us and David, he produced the whole EP. We had so much fun. Like, as a group of people, we're all really good friends. And so it's always like jokes and nonstop, like laughing and conversation, which is really funny because the music itself
It's
pretty
so dark.
Right.
But it's so fun. So I think finding an environment that not only creates great music, but also just creates a great, healthy environment for like your mental health is, I think that's the key to it. Because I look forward to going to sessions because it not only is it something I love, writing music, but it's also I'm doing it with people that are just bomb.
So I think there's a bit of kind of like magic to it. When you go in, get into the room with a certain producer, you're like, oh, today's going to be good.
Yeah.
We're going to write a good song today. And you just kind of like feel it. Yeah. So there is a little bit of magic to it that is kind of unexplainable.
Wow, this is great for up and coming artists to be able to listen to this and be able to identify, from people who have done it themselves firsthand. So what's up next for Neoni? I know that it's you have some shows coming up, is that right? Or at least one show coming up?
We just played a show
in
Johnson City
and
last
one
week,
in Nashville for 2 amazing radio stations. I think we may have a few
In the
more
works?
things in the works. With the live front, but mostly it's just a ton of
new music.
We love releasing. We love creating music. That's our favorite part of music, is the creation process. So we can't go too long without releasing.
And now that we spent like 6 months releasing the EP, and that was 6 months of writing for us. And so now there's like all these songs.
The EP was finished in March or April. I always forget the date.
The date
it was a blur to get it finished, but all the songs were finished and in distribution. So like, that gave us had 6 months to write. We were just kind of releasing music, which is such a fun experience, but also writing that whole time.
And so now there's all these songs kind of like backed up, and we're like, okay, we're ready to put out more.
So definitely more music throughout the back half of the year and
into 2022,
which is so crazy that we're so close to 2022. Look, where did 2021 go?
Right?
It's crazy. I know. Well, listen, thank you so much for coming on the show, and definitely looking forward to the new music. And we're going to keep all our viewers updated here on SoundMojo.
Thank you so much for having us.
It's such an honor.
This was such an awesome interview.
I got bad intentions. Need an intervention.
Big shout out to Neoni for coming on the show today. Make sure to go check out that new record. We have the link in the description of the audio and video for this episode. Frank and Joe, what did you think after checking out that podcast?
If I was like, during editing, it was just like, oh my God, like they're so excited, you know, they're so like amped and pumped to be on with you. And even at the end when they said, this is a great interview, you know, like it was really nice of them, you know. I mean, like, they started so young, like you said before. Their relationship evolved only just like in terms of growing up as sisters, but then you're also busking and doing music together and like so young. I remember being young enough that I wasn't allowed to play in clubs as well or venues like them, you know, so I can relate. But you know, I love the excitement that they had.
Very, very in sync, you know.
Yeah.
Very coordinated. You could tell. They
brutally honest with each other.
Yeah. And
seriously,
what kind of like? I mean, like, it was cool to see that their family is super supportive, and like the grandparents or father goes the extra mile and kind of promotes it as much as he can, and so much so that it's kind of like they're a different genre. They're kind of like a genre that isn't in the mainstream, if you want to call it that. So it's a bit dark, right? It's a bit heavy.
Dark, heavy. That's the vibe.
That music.
Like, industrial pop-ish a bit, you know.
Yeah, it's been really cool to track that, because a lot of these artists, singer-songwriters, it seems like they're really tapping into, I don't know, they've maybe seen a darker side of the world, and they're sort of letting it out in a creative outlet. And it's really interesting to hear sort of coming-of-age type of songs or realization songs from people in that sort of age bracket. Really interesting. Also, 3-hour sets that they were doing when they first started. I mean, that is insane.
Yeah, but I don't think it was 3 hours in a row, because usually they break it down to 45 minutes, 50-minute sets.
This is true.
Take a break. But regardless, young, having to learn it, knowing the stuff. Like they said, everybody plays Come Together by the Beatles, right? And you could just make up the words at a certain point and nobody cares because they're just waiting for the chorus. You know, I thought that was really funny.
Something about a flat top.
Yeah, that's it. Like, they were. It's great to see, like I said, two young people tackling big topics. You know, they're not just doing bubble gum or like simple stuff. Not talking about themselves all the time. It's some interesting topics. One thing I like is and it's obvious, but I wanted to mention is that the fact that they're Imagine Dragons fans. You know, like you could tell some of those sounds come from the Imagine Dragons.
Oh yeah.
Playbook. You know, the beats and stuff. And I'm a big fan of that band as well. You know, I always like what they put out. I always think they push the envelope on pop, like good pop with like edge, like you said, a bit of the heaviness, right? And that's what these girls are sort of doing it in their own way. I think even heavier than.
I like how I kind of like how they brand themselves. You know, it's kind of like they're very stoic. They're in their imagery, and the way they kind of show themselves online, is like on social media, is like there's a wall there, you know. There's a mystery.
People tend to think two young girls, you know, like they're not as serious or whatever, and they have to probably present this image of like, hey, take us seriously, you know, and like people are taking them seriously. They're doing really well.
Yeah,
it's true, and then more of a bubbly sort of interaction when you actually speak with them. Yeah, It's always interesting to see that. Good marketing. Listen, we're really happy for them, and the project is incredible. We highly suggest you guys check it out. And the share was for me.
Love and they have to Las Vegas, steady chasing paper, balling like we Lakers. Girl, you on my radar, yeah. Lagos to Las Vegas.
Very exciting always to see these new artists. And definitely let us know who you want to see on this program. How you can do it is you can send us a tweet, comment on our Instagram, we're on TikTok, everywhere. But the most effective way to stay up to date and really get the chance to share your input is if you subscribe to us on YouTube. And if you subscribe on YouTube, make sure to click that little notification bell next to the button. That will give you real-time updates about everything we're posting, including community tabs and polls. That's really your chance to get your voices heard. As I said, we're on social media. And if you're tapped in on those audio platforms, you can also subscribe there as well. We love our audio listeners listening in the car, on the treadmill. We love you guys too. So thanks so much for tuning in to this episode of Innersleeve. And we'll catch you guys next week.